Today I've got the incredible honor of talking with Matt Adams, and this is part 2 from last week where we talked to Matt's dad, John. And so we're going to maybe fill in some of the gaps, but also just talk with Matt about growing up in a family business, growing up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and all that entailed. So, hey, let's get going. Well, hey everyone, welcome to the Life Podcast, where we just hear from people and hear their stories, kind of what inspires them, what they've learned along the way. And a lot of times I talk to community business people and community leaders that maybe have grown up here or moved in here just to get the why for what they're doing. Let's get right to it, Matt. What do you say?
Yeah.
Come on. So talking to your dad, who's just a fascinating individual. And man, I could literally talk to your dad for a long time because he's just a super cool dude, man.
He is. He's my idol. He's so
Dude,
awesome.
I love talking to your dad. And I thought it'd be really cool to have you come on and just, obviously another perspective on the business, but also what it's like. I mean, because you don't know anything different than born here in all Coeur d'Alene native, but you grew up, I mean, from your earliest memories, you guys were owners of Coeur d'Alene Tractor, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So let's just go back to not the very beginning, but
Kootenai County Medical Center.
Maybe your beginning. Were you born at Kootenai?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, so why don't we just start with just talking to me about maybe one growing up those early years in Coeur d'Alene, but also growing up in a family business that actually has some definite significant things that happen there.
It does. Yeah. It's really cool. I mean, I feel very fortunate, and sometimes you don't know how fortunate you are until you reflect upon that or go experience things outside of where you're at. But growing up in Coeur d'Alene too, obviously a very magical place. You're a lake kid. You have the mountains all around you too. And growing up and having a tractor business, and we grew up just right down the street from where we're at right now too, on La Crosse.
Really?
Yeah. And so the Jiffy Mart was our, Fast Eddie, and Jiffy Mart was a place we went down to and got our slushies and we're just, neighborhood kids. But then we moved up on the hill, and my dad's best friend, Jim Runge, had 3 girls. We have 3 boys, and we bought, I think it was a 4-5 acre piece of land up on the top of Stanley Hill. And they had acreage up there as well. So combined, we had, like the Brady Bunch growing up on about 8 or 9 acres of property. And imagine that too, a bunch of sports kids that have tractors at their access and motorcycles. And there was an open fence in the backyard that went right up to Best Mountain. So it was a playground for us.
Wow.
And it was awesome. I mean, growing up and the Rungies, Jim and Donna Runge are like our second mom and dad. And the girls are like our sisters. I don't even know how to even really characterize them other than saying those are our sisters, because nobody, a lot of people understand that. But I feel very fortunate to have grown up in that environment.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, growing up on the lake and riding our bikes all over town. But, my dad was working all the time, and he's just a dedicated man. And again, he's my idol, and he's a hard worker and kind of the epitome of setting an example of who somebody should be, especially a young boy looking at, with a father figure, just going to kind of want to be just like him.
That's cool. That's super cool.
And there are pluses and minuses to it, of course, too. Like, he was always there for us. He was always there. And even though he was working all the time, and of course, during his time during work, us boys would ride our bikes downtown. And my routine was to ride downtown, play some games in the park on my little BMX bike, and then go swimming and to cool down, and go down to Hudson's Hamburgers and have a burger. And
come on, now you're talking.
Yeah. And it was the life, right? But Dad's working. He's working 10, 12 hours a day, and 5-6 days a week. And Mom's at home, trying to keep us boys managed and get us to basketball and baseball and football practices and all that too. So when we saw him, it was awesome. And oftentimes we were working at the shop too. But we were doing the really good labor, like cleaning the toilets, mowing the lawns, and all those things too, and just cleaning up the place. But as a kid in that business, I didn't know anything other than, like, I knew how to operate machinery. I didn't know about it from a business perspective, and I honestly didn't have that curiosity at that time either. I just knew Dad worked hard. We worked hard when we were there, and he was always super appreciative of us being there and working too.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was fun growing up here, of course, in Coeur d'Alene and a very beautiful place and being on the lake all the time, being around wonderful people. But I always had sort of a curiosity of what was outside the bubble.
I'm sure. I'm
Mhm.
sure it's yeah. Obviously I grew up here as well, and I did not
Yeah.
know. I mean, I knew Adam's name, I knew the Runge name, but I was just in a different circle.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that you were that close with the Runge family. I mean, another family that's just really pillars of our community that have been here
Yeah.
for a long time. And so that there we go. I learned something new
Yeah.
today. Today was not a waste because I just learned something.
I'm sure I'll learn something new too.
Good deal. So you grew up here in Coeur d'Alene, working the family business, and it sounds like, obviously it was awesome, but maybe it wasn't all glamour. I
Not
don't know
all.
if cleaning toilets is glamour or raking the yards or, just the grunt work that,
Yeah.
we have a family business, and there's definitely times where it's like, do I want to hire someone to do that, or should I have the kids do that?
All the time. You got little worker bees for you. And,
Yeah.
yeah, it was cool though. I mean, it was, one thing that my dad always advocated for too was go work for somebody else.
Yeah.
And it wasn't always like we had to work there too. He was like, I mean, he built a car wash right next door, which, was Adam's Appleway car wash, and the Super Wally wash, which was the automatic. And then he built a quick lube next to it too. So my dad had this entrepreneurial spirit, which I totally admired. Of course, someday, of course, I know where I get a lot of these entrepreneurial mindsets and inspirations from now that I look back on it too. He really wanted us to go work for other people too. So one thing I did, I think when I got into high school, is I went and worked for Hagen on Hospitality. And so I started as valet, and then I worked into grounds crew at the Coeur d'Alene Resort Golf Course once it was built. And then I worked into caddying. And some of the best jobs. Again, feel really, really lucky that I got the opportunity to do that, because getting to meet Hagen on, and we were friends with the Jaeger family too. So it was just kind of a natural progression to go in there, and just the trust factor, like, oh, we're working for a cool place. But in a small town like this, and kids to get opportunities like whether it's in like housekeeping or even like waitering, busing, valet, bellboys. There's so many opportunities that hotel brought. And then when the golf course was built, the junior caddy program, the caddy program, working on the grounds crew. So I worked in valet and loved that and had some great experiences. And then I, went out to the golf course once that was built, and it was such a cool experience. I get up at 4 a.m. and go set up the course. And I was the course setup guy and the guy that cut the cups on each of the holes.
Wow.
And mowed the greens. I had my little boat. I'd drive out to the floating green, and I'll be able to have that experience. And I'm by myself for 4.5, 5 hours a day. And then I would go caddy in the afternoons, and I'd be gone from 4 a.m. until 8 o'clock at night working at the golf course. And it didn't seem like I was even working.
Yeah. Okay. I've got to stop and ask a question, because the people that that put the holes in the golf course, I love to golf. I'm just not very good at it. But there are times where I'm teeing off and I'm like, why would they put the hole there? Did they have a bad day or something?
That's a good question too, because there are days when I knew I was going to be caddying, and this is something maybe I shouldn't reveal on a podcast. But there were days where I knew I was going to be caddying in the afternoon, so I'd put the cup in an easier spot, because I knew I'd have my customers for that day would have a better experience. If they shot lower, they have a better experience, and I'd get a better tip.
There you go. Okay. So this is the question I've got to ask that I've always wanted to ask someone that did. You're the first person that I've met that actually put the holes in the green. If you had a bad day, do sometimes you take that out on where you put the hole?
Yeah, I'll be very honest about
Yeah.
that.
Oh, dude, there's sometimes I'm like, why would they put the hole like either right behind the sand trap or right on the, where it's like, I know there's probably some legal, like it can only be this close to the edge, but
There is, yeah.
good grief. There's sometimes where it's like, that was like right on the fringe of where it's legal or not legal. And the back of the green drops off or something. And I'm like, you dirty dog.
Whoever set this
You must have had it. And I've thought to myself, they must have had a bad day.
Yeah, there is some correlation between those two mindsets, but there is a method to the madness. It's quadranted into, at least ours was, into 6 different sections.
Okay.
So you had right back, right middle, right front, and then the same thing on the left side too. And you can't put it more than 3 feet. You have to put it more than 3 feet away from an undulation. So it becomes kind of unfair if it's on a hill, right? And then the ball goes up and then it rolls back to you, and you have to keep hitting it until it actually goes in.
There's times when that's happened to me.
And there are times when I know, especially being in that position, doing that for many years too, and I play golf pretty regularly now, but to go out in a course and I'm just like, I see a cup that's in a spot like that. I'm like, that cup cutter must have had a really bad morning. He must have been really pissed off.
Okay, well, okay, and that's two things I've learned today. So
Yeah.
today is like seriously successful.
So much learning going on.
So you had this incredible, and anybody that grew up in Coeur d'Alene, you know, I consider my upbringing the same. Like, it was magical. This was like,
Yeah.
this is in my mind where everybody would want to grow up. You mentioned the curiosity, and like, what else is out there beyond Coeur d'Alene?
Yeah.
So at what age did you decide, you know what, I'm going to go see what's going on out there? When did that happen?
I think it must have happened at an early age, and I always had that sort of intellectual curiosity or just curiosity in general as to what was out there. Like I said, the bubble, and the bubble is just, it's not too good to be true. You just don't know any better than what it is. Honestly, don't know where it came from. I know that I wanted to go to college, and after I graduated from Coeur d'Alene High School, I went to University of Idaho, thought I wanted to be an architect because I'd been drawing and was, good at math. And it was like, those two things kind of fit together, and I love doing it. And about 2 years into my architectural degree, I realized that, man, I'm even more curious about books and psychology and how the brain works and why am I thinking these things. And a lot of times, like, psychologists get into psychology because they have to fix something in themselves, or they're curious about themselves, or why am I thinking this, or why do other people think this? And I think that drove me to just even further to want to absorb more knowledge. And honestly, I was just to a point where I'm like, can I still be an architect and do this? And I was just kind of burnt out on it a little bit, and decided to pursue psychology and got my degree in art therapy. Art therapy meaning I had all these art classes I'd taken, so I was like, okay, I might as well use those for something.
Come on.
And at that point, you get to a point where you're like, you know what? I know I want to finish what I started. I wanted to finish my college degree, and it took me, added an extra year to change my major. So I was there for 5 years. But again, I wanted to, even when I graduated from college, I was like, I need to get out of Idaho. I don't know what really drove me. I just, again, wanted to see what's outside of that bubble. And that kept driving me to do more and more things as I progressed, I guess. So
did you leave right after college?
Yeah, I was actually in a pretty serious relationship, and I left that, and I don't have any regrets because I love where I'm at and love what I got to experience. But I made some compromises to move to Palm Springs and caddy down there for the Vintage Club.
Oh,
It
okay.
was a caddy. They chose a few caddies. I don't know if we were the best caddies or just the available caddies.
Yeah.
Ones just willing to move out of Coeur d'Alene, but there was about 10 of us that moved down to Palm Springs from Coeur d'Alene to start a caddy program at the Vintage Club, which is where Mr. Hagedon, Dwayne Hagedon, was a member down there. And so I got to caddy for a lot of unique, interesting, powerful people down there. And, you learn a lot about, people. You learn a lot about yourself, what your drives are. And I was really driven to make money, honestly, go down there. Caddy for a lot of mobsters. I guess I would say they're in real estate, or Leprino, Diodati, Casades. I mean, the names kind of tell you where they come from. So it was pretty fascinating for me to be around those people and feel the energy, the aura around those people that were, multimillionaires, billionaires, way out of any league I'd ever been in, and caddying for them, and the expectations they had and the pressure you put on a 23-year-old kid that's going through that too. And I learned that I could handle pressure like that, and I loved it. I enjoyed it, and I became successful at doing that on the golf course, because I'd be like, you just have to kind of quadrant the greens like I did with the cups, know the undulations, know the breaks, and win a couple tournaments, and we did. But I was only down there for 9 months. It was just more of like an escape, get away from college, get away from learning for a little bit, find yourself a little bit more, and then see where it goes from there. But after that, I was aching to get back to the Northwest. I realized it was somewhat of I don't really know how to really characterize it other than saying it was kind of a synthetic environment. Even physically driving down there through like the desert, and then all the windmills, and all of a sudden you come across like greens and 120 plus golf courses, palm trees. And I was like, whoa, where'd this come from? So kind of unique in that respect. But the conversations you had, I met a lot of interesting people, but I was looking forward to getting back to people that I was really, I wouldn't say comfortable being around, but just more interested in being around, having more intellectual conversations, and just more maybe like-mindedness.
Yeah.
Get back to the Northwest.
And so then you came back.
Yeah,
How long were you back?
I moved back, and almost immediately when I moved back to the Coeur d'Alene and Spokane area, my older brother, Chris, who was in the fishing industry out of Seattle, living in Seattle, but he was in Alaska for 8 months out of the year. Him and another friend of mine from college that lived over there, they said, "You need to come to Seattle." I was like, "Okay, what am
Yeah.
I going to do?"
Yeah.
And at that time, I had no idea what I was going to do. I just knew I needed to, I had a curiosity about the big city and wanted to be there. And as soon as I got there, he got me some jobs, just manual labor jobs working on the boats until I could find something. And, within just a couple months, I got into the tech industry.
And over in Seattle.
Yeah, it was through a temp agency. So through another friend of ours from college that worked for Robert Half International. And she's like, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I just want to get my foot in the door of the business that's in tech." And so she kept looking while I was, of course, doing what I had to do to pay the bills and kind of work myself, living in Seattle, a little more expensive, right?
Yes.
But it wasn't bad. It was just, it was a transition. I knew I was in a transition. And by the time I got my foot in the door with a company called Spry Incorporated, little ISP internet service provider, that was just, they said, yeah, they're kind of hip. They're doing new things, cool culture. And I got my foot in the door there just working in the shipping department. And within a few months, I was, into the purchasing department. And then kind of the rest is history of that.
Wow. So you stayed. So did you? I know you were gone from Idaho for a while. Did you
Yeah.
stay in the Seattle area for quite a while?
Yeah. For 9 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All in tech.
Yeah, in tech. So we start like Spry Inc. was the first one, my first experience, made some great friends there and incredible culture. But after a couple of years, they got bought out by CompuServe. And most people might know that name,
Yeah.
CompuServe,
I've heard of that.
giant organization,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Then, we're slightly invested, not terribly invested, but then you get recruited to another business because that one's sold to CompuServe. And you have the opportunity to work for them? And they say, okay, you can be in this position at CompuServe, or you can, because Spry is going to be dissolved, or we can pay you out. And it was more like, okay, I think, and I was getting recruited. It was just the right place at the right time,
Yeah.
honestly. And I got recruited by another company called iCat Corporation, short for Internet Cataloging. And the essence of that business was before people were purchasing things on the internet. So this is 1997. 95 is when I moved over to Seattle.
Okay.
So 2 years later, I'm in another company called iCat Corporation, city center building. These guys are just spending money left and right. Like there's kegs every Friday and there's ping pong tables and people are working and you don't feel like you're working because you're part of this sort of, I don't know, culture that just kind of keeps feeding itself, 12, 14 hours a day. And it doesn't feel like you're working that much, but I found myself wanting to be at work, wanted to accomplish things. And just that sort of experience with culture just made me want to be part of something and part of something's big. A couple years later, we sold this to Intel. So another organization people
Yeah.
might be aware of. But the one thing I'm really proud of is this organization was the first business, and I was part of the production team of creating is the Internet Catalog, a product. It was actually out of the box product to help sell things on the internet. I mean,
Yeah.
people were afraid to put their credit cards out.
100%.
And so it's pretty cool to have been part of one of the first businesses.
That's
We had a thing called
crazy.
Lemonade Stand that we had created to get the people comfortable with just quickly processing credit cards with secure transactions to get them out there. And I don't know how deeply you want me to go into the details of that, but it was really cool to see that come to fruition, to see a product from its cradle to, I wouldn't say its grave, but the cradle to its inception and, getting out there and making people comfortable with purchasing things on the internet. And look where we're at now.
No, it's
Like
crazy.
the Amazons of the world, like I buy half my stuff
I know.
online.
I try to I try to go buy stuff at times at like actually yesterday, and I think I was at Best Buy. They don't have it because it's so easy to get on the internet. It's too expensive for them to, for it to have shelf space because
Yeah.
most people can just go on Amazon and
Could be on your doorstep tomorrow.
yes, so that's, I mean, it's
Yeah.
weird to watch how quickly that's grown. So that'd be fascinating to be on the very front end of that, before
It's
it
really
ever.
cool to see like where it started and where it's at now, and to know that like we were on the cusp of something really cool. And again, I was just really in the right place and the right time. And then, once that, they gave us opportunities, of course, they're paying people out saying, okay, we're selling this to Intel. Do you want to work for Intel? It's a bigger corporation. And I was like, no, not really. I really liked the smaller organization
Mhm.
and the building something, like producing something that was tangible. And I could really see the sort of the beginning to the end of it, and being part of something like that was pretty neat. And then I got recruited to another. I was actually just going to go snowboarding because as a young kid, it wasn't a ton of money, but it was like enough for me to live for maybe a year or two. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm just going to grow my beard out and go snowboarding, and
There you
just,
go.
ignorance and probably, just, being youthful and just, and young minded, just like, okay, I'm going to go out and do this. And then I got recruited to another company called Photodisc, which was an imaging company, like stock imaging. And I was, starting to get into photography. I was like, oh, this might be kind of cool, learn about this. And they recruited me to be a technology person, like in their internet technology group. I was like, well, I don't have a lot of experience in that. I was just with a tech company. I was a production manager, and they're like, well, you can do this. And I'd been kind of playing because you have time. I was coding, since like, for a few years too, and building websites on the side, just playing around because
Yeah.
you're around it and you have spare time. It's like, I just had an intellectual curiosity about it. So I was recruited to be with them, and I was building like databases on the back end to be able to make efficiencies of purchasing technology. So once we got purchased by Getty Images, which is now the largest imaging company in the world.
Yeah. Heard of that?
Yeah, and so once we got purchased by Getty, again, this is a culture. My brother, who was, meanwhile, he's fishing and coming back every 8 months, and like, hey, how are things going? And I was like, oh, I'm with another company now. That yeah, it's a great culture, great people. And he's like, how do you get with all these businesses that have kegs every Friday? Have like catered breakfast, like you guys are going on scavenger hunts, doing all these fun things. I was like, and what it really made me realize is that I just love being part of something. I love being
Mhm.
part of a culture, and working hard. And I already had that instilled from my dad, and like my brothers are really hard workers too. And I was like, it's just part of my DNA. I enjoy working. And if I was to give anybody any advice out there, I would just say, just have an intellectual curiosity, work hard, build that resume by working hard, and build a reputation, because that's what you're constantly doing. And some people are on a linear path. They know they're going to be a doctor. They know they're going to be a lawyer. They know they're going to be a fireman. They know they're going to be, I thought I was going to be an architect. Right? But, just keep working hard, and doors keep opening
Uh,
if you keep working hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I was very fortunate. I was in the right place at the right time, and especially in Seattle, where it was really a tech hub of not just the United States, but really of the world, and where there's a lot of things happening and a lot of money obviously inundated into the tech industry too. So, just, keep talking to people, keep working hard, and keep moving forward, and other doors are gonna open up. And I got to a point where at Getty, I was there for about 3 years and helped build them a new campus in the Fremont area,
Yep.
just north of Seattle, by the Fremont Bridge. And we built 2 campuses eventually as well. And part of that, and I was in charge of technology and buying all the technology for the company too. So I felt I was moving into an important role, but I got to a point where I had that curiosity kind of coming up again too, of like the bubbles starting to get more curiosity outside of that
Yeah.
bubble.
Yeah.
And I had some friends that had gone traveling. They went to Southeast Asia, and then some others that went to Europe. And I was like, I want something even bigger than that. I want to go out and I want to see the world. And I read a book called The Practical Nomad, and it was about how to travel around the world and catching charter flights and doing it cost effectively. And I was like, wow, I'm doing pretty good. I don't want to leave this awesome job. And I could, go to my brother's float house. I could, kayak to work. I could ride my bike to work, and amazing people. And I was inspired by a lot of the photographers there, just seeing their photo shoots and kind of peeking in the doors and seeing what's happening. And then I just decided I wanted to leave. So I saved a bunch of money, and I was like, I still had the entrepreneurial mindset. I started a small business on the side called Trip Magazine, which I was into writing, and I wanted to write stories, and I was into mountain climbing and adventures. And it's like, I want to start a travel and adventure business. And so I want to start this magazine. It's an online magazine. It was kind of, keep in mind, this is like on the cusp of the internet still coming
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
being in itself. I thought I could be overseas. I could go to internet cafes. I could write stories. I could send it back to my IT guy that's going to manage this for me back in Seattle. And then I was like, I don't know how easy that's going to be. It might have its challenges, but I still just knew I needed to get out. And so we kind of tabled that for a little bit. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take my camera. I'm going to shoot a lot of pictures. I'm going to journalize everything. And I can just, give this sort of gift to myself and to my family, back, and tell the stories when I get back. And so I started another company called Big Yeti Productions, which is basically, one of my nicknames, but it's also somebody that wanders the earth aimlessly, just, looking for answers. And he's big and hairy too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's me.
Yeah.
But I thought it'd be kind of fun to do that. And so I kind of used that as an excuse to, I wouldn't say, pretend that I'm going to be a photographer, but a travel and adventure photographer. But that was kind of the dream. And if I can make this happen, then I'm going to make it happen. And when I got back, I had just hundreds of rolls of film, and I would send them back in like backgammon boards from when I was in Turkey, and send them back to my mom's place or back to my dad. And then when I got home, I just had all these. It was like Christmas, and I had all these rolls of film I needed to develop. And I was still, Seattle was still my base, so that's what I came back to. But man, it was a journey. I went to about 19 different countries, starting in Iceland, and
Oh,
yeah, went through
that's
Europe
cool.
and Eastern Europe, and Turkey, and then the Middle East and Bangladesh and Nepal, Thailand, Fiji, Bali, Australia.
Wow. That's
So I
that
was
is
I was gone
definitely
for
all
about
over.
7 months the first time.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I think I came back for a couple months, and I met a girl when I was traveling from Australia, and so I went back to Australia for a couple months. And so overall, I was gone for about a year, meaning out of the country. But I would just come back and I would kind of settle in. But I always had that like I need to leave again
Yeah.
mentality. But then I would always want to come back because I would get kind of homesick. I mean, on the road for 7 months, I was like, I miss my friends, I miss my family,
Yeah.
and I kind of wanted to settle down and build something again. So that's kind of I don't know. It's kind of the journey.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's
Yeah.
that's so cool. So you left Coeur d'Alene. So how long were you gone doing, the tech, the traveling, the adventures, the starting companies, the all of those things? How long were you gone total?
27 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like obviously there's a lot of stories in those 27 years, but if we fast forward all the way to whatever year it was, year 26, 27, 25, whenever it was, when did you feel like, I think I want to go back to Coeur d'Alene? Like, was there ever a point in time where you're like, how did you end up back here?
And this might sound pretty childish on my part too, is that, I love Coeur d'Alene. I love visiting Coeur d'Alene. I loved growing up in Coeur d'Alene. I always felt, and this is my brain, I always felt there was a sense of regression of coming back,
I can see that.
almost like
Yeah.
I was moving backwards. And I don't want that to be misconstrued because it had nothing to do with the people, nothing to do with the place. It was in my mindset of I always wanted to feel like I was moving forward and building or accomplishing. And part of it is to, of course, I'll be proud of myself. Part of it is to make my parents proud, things that drive me, and just a curiosity more than anything else too. But part of that journey was I met my wife, and you come to a point where you probably need to settle down a little bit. At least I did, because I was traveling quite a bit and wanting to keep moving forward, and I always wanted to have that sort of, but it had to be it was the right timing too of settling down. And so I met this girl that lived in Portland.
Okay.
Um, Her name's Amber. She's now my wife of almost 20 years.
Come on. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's super cool.
Yeah. And so I decided, after long story short, is that I moved to Portland, and I gave up pursuing this sort of entrepreneurial thing. I was like, okay, if we're going to get serious, I probably need to, you know, I kind of came in and out of things. Like I'd have these great jobs, and then I would go down a road of like, I want to start something myself and see how far I can push it. And then I'd get into another stable job, and then I'd, make money. And then I'd say, okay, I'm going to spend that money on something like investing in myself, doing something I want to do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been my cycle over the years for, majority of the time I was gone. And so I moved to Portland, met my wife. She had two children when I met her that were 3 and 5 that are now I consider my kids too.
Yeah.
They're now 28 and 26.
I've
Uh,
got a 27. So
yeah,
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 that's
yeah, and wonderful kids. I mean, I fell in love with them as much as I fell in love with my wife, and the rest is history. Being married for that many years, I moved to Portland, lived in Portland, had a dream job there. Helped build another business that I was really proud of called Angel Vision Technologies, just building small movies, like little short
that's cool.
impact movies. Yeah, took it from about 300,000 a year to about, gosh, we were 7 million a year. So it just, I mean, blew it up and had a great time. Had a great business partner. Our CEO was kind of crazy in a lot of ways too. Very eccentric, Harvard graduate and really intellectual. But yeah, he didn't manage people well. I'll just
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
But a brilliant mind nonetheless. But my business partner we kind of co-business development the business, became a really close friend of mine too, because we just like, let's have fun with this. Let's get good people in here and let's just do some really cool things. And the way we structured the business, it just blew up. We had a lot of fun, a lot of luck, and made a lot of mistakes along the way too. That's a
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah, it's
Right.
definitely part of it.
Yeah. But yeah, once that got to a point where like we both kind of got worn out in that, and then the opportunity to move back here came up. My brother, older brother, moved back. He said, "You should move back to Coeur d'Alene." Like, why? He said, "Well, Dad's here." I said, "Yeah." He said, and it's not as weird as you think. Like seeing all the old people that you went to high school with, it's not as weird as you think it
Yeah,
was. I'm like,
yeah,
"Really?" And so he, him and his wife, and they have a daughter that's a similar age to our youngest as well. I always say he lawyered up, and his wife, who's a lawyer, and she said we could raise our kids together, raise our girls together, and I was like, that'd be really cool. And I started envisioning this, like, oh, that would be kind of cool. And so I kind of came to terms with it pretty quickly, and then I presented it to my wife, not thinking she would be on board with it, and she was like, yeah, that'd be cool. Like, really? Did you just say yes?
yeah. Come on.
So it was just serendipitous. It was meant to be, the move back here, and I got to see my dad maybe once or twice a year for 20 plus years. Yeah, he would come visit us in Seattle or Portland, but I would only get back. I mean, to the point where my wife is like, "You need to go see your dad," and I was like, "Yeah, you're right, I do." But you just get so caught up in business and so
Yep,
caught up in life and
yep.
raising the kiddos and all that stuff too. But when my wife said, "Yeah," she was the one that was saying, "Yeah, we should do that," or she said, "Yeah, we could do that," and she was open to it. I was like, "Well, I get to see my dad every day and my idol, right?"
Yeah, that's
And I
cool,
get to
man.
build a business with him. And I started thinking about all these things like, why didn't I think about this sooner?
So when was that? What, like,
About
when?
6 years ago,
Okay, so what,
2019.
19 or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, and it's weird how it happened too, just because, timing of it. Timing's everything, and, literally, figuratively looking in the rearview mirror, and I've said this to a lot of people too, is like, Portland was crumbling, and you go back there and the homeless problem is just, I mean, it's like no other. It's crazy. And
yeah,
all these sanctuary cities from, like, Seattle to Portland to San Francisco, LA, where, they're I don't know, they're just deteriorating in a lot of ways, and then the pandemic hits, and we're like, "Wow, we're here, we're with family." My mom from California moved up because she has a really good relation I have a good relationship with her, my wife does too. My parents split when I was, like, 14, but I still, I love her to death, and she was like, "We wanna move up to Coeur d'Alene too." I was like, "That wouldn't be weird, like, you and dad being around each other again?" And one of the coolest things that culminated from that was my daughter, who at the time when we moved, I wanna say she was 13 years old, had never seen them together in the same room. And one of the coolest things that I've seen even, since I've been back in my life was my dad could still make my mom laugh.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and you've, met my dad, you've been around
Yeah,
my dad's, like, he can make anybody laugh
yeah,
and
yeah,
make 'em smile, and just he's so engaging, and, like, and he really had the intention of, like, of just reconnecting a little bit and just saying, "Hey, sorry we went through that. I know it wasn't pretty, wasn't good for the boys," or whatever it was, but, um, having my youngest daughter, see that and see them, like, connect
yeah,
again was pretty magical too.
yeah, that's super cool. So
Yeah.
when you were gone, during those, 27 years, 26 years, how often did you visit Coeur d'Alene ever, or were you pretty much, like, not really? Because I guess what I'm getting at is a lot happened in this area in
Yeah,
20
good
26 years or whatever.
yeah.
So what was it like coming back to how different Coeur d'Alene was? I graduated in '88,
Yeah.
and I think Coeur d'Alene was, or Post Falls, I think, was 7,500, if I remember
Wow.
right. And Coeur d'Alene, I think, was like 22, 23,000. And I mostly, all of my younger years were in Post Falls. But man, it's just, I mean, it's just so much different now.
Yeah. Yeah, and we came back a couple times. Like, we come back during the summers 'cause, of course, there's no place better than Coeur d'Alene in the
There isn't.
summertime, but we had the beach too. Like, we're in Portland, we had the beach, and, I was traveling, internationally. That was our passion, is to just get out of the country, and we'd make a couple trips out of the country every year and go to Morocco or go to Spain or go somewhere just, that we wanted to go away. I took my wife to Thailand and took her for her 40th birthday, we took her to an elephant sanctuary in northern Thailand because she was a big fan of elephants.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they're fascinating.
my gosh, they are, and especially going to these sanctuaries and, like, I felt like I was gonna get eaten by one of them or trampled by
That's a
one of them
bucket
so
list
many
thing
times.
for me.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but yes, we would come back to Coeur d'Alene, occasionally, but, not enough. To not at the time, it was like it was fulfilling to come back, like, "Oh, we got our fill of Coeur d'Alene," but, I didn't really see it, like, when we were here because 'cause we'd just be on the lake. We'd go out to the lake
Yeah, yeah,
property or we'd go, do something else, that was more tourist oriented, but, I think I really felt it when I came back. But it's not like being in the big cities, like, you have to have
no.
that perspective too, and I'm glad I did because especially being in places like Bangkok or being in like India or something like that, it's like you don't know what traffic is until you go to gridlock and you're not moving. And one of the funniest things, like when we moved here, there multiple people came out to me within the tractor company. They were like, "Just stay off of 95.
Yeah.
Just stay, just stay off 95." I was like, "Okay, okay, I get it. I know we've grown and it seems like more populated here." But I get on 95 and I was like, "It was not a problem. We're still moving." And yeah,
Right?
maybe it's nail space, but we're still moving. We're sitting there for like 10, 15, 20 minutes
Yeah,
like you are in Portland, Seattle, I mean, LA, name a big city and New York especially. Like you're sitting in gridlock and that's a whole
yeah.
different ballgame. But yes, it's more populated. It's still fun. There's still a lot of cool
Oh, big
escapes.
time.
I think it's actually been more beautified in a lot of ways. And I give a lot of that credit to Hagedon. I've had a lot of conversations with him too, being his caddy down in Palm Springs. So I've always had a very positive perspective on him and
Yeah.
Jerry Jager, who's a family friend of ours too, and all those families, too, because I think they've done a lot of good things for the city, and a lot of people that are in this city care so much about it. It's so awesome, more than any other city I've ever lived in.
Yeah, it's interesting. I even, obviously I'm sure you do as well, but have a lot of friends that didn't grow up here.
Yeah,
They've come here. And even a lot of the friends that I have that maybe even came, the pandemic brought in a lot of people
yeah,
from places like Portland, Seattle, LA, those types of things. But a lot of those people that I ran into that are, good friends of mine now, even those people have this deep care about Coeur d'Alene, like, and it's like they have been here for 30 years or 40 years or 20 years or whatever,
yeah,
but they come here and they somehow acclimate to this. Oh my goodness, we got to protect this. We got to like make
yeah.
sure that this doesn't change because it's paradise.
It's so true. Yeah, they do. I think there's a good intention there, right? And I think there's also the other side of that. It's like let's close the gate and so nobody else can get in. It's like everybody has a right to be here,
Yeah,
right?
I say that to people all the time. I'm like, oh, when people, they'll say something about, oh my goodness, I hope more people don't come. I'm like, well, why wouldn't they come?
Yeah,
Like, obviously, even the people, even, I grew up here. I don't plan on leaving because I love it. So
yeah.
if I love it and how beautiful it is and how beautiful the lake is and all that kind of stuff, why wouldn't other people? Why wouldn't other people
Why
love
don't they have the right to move here too,
it?
right?
Exactly. I know. Just because
Yeah.
something's good, if something's good, I want to kind of have a right, to it or whatever it is.
But you want to
Wherever.
share it too,
Yes,
right?
that's like saying, well, man, you just talked about the elephants,
Yeah.
and I right away I'm like, oh, that's not on my bucket list. That'd be like you saying, nope, can't go there because it's protected.
Sorry.
Only,
Not gonna tell you anything about it.
it's blocked off. And I'm like, I don't understand that mentality really. I do. And, the traffic thing's interesting because I went to college in Seattle and, right away when my wife and I graduated, we wanted to come back. So we wanted to raise our kids here.
Yeah.
But people would complain, oh my goodness, that's all the way up in Hayden. And they're like, what?
It's just
What?
Hayden.
It's like, that's like 6 miles. Oh, but you got to get on 95. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
And
don't do it. It's not worth
but
it.
the mentality is, like I was only in Seattle for 4 years,
Yeah.
but I mean, people don't know what a traffic is, until you jump on, you're in Linwood or whatever, and you got to go to the airport and you hit it the wrong time, those couple of those S curves in there, something happens. And that 30-minute drive is 2.5-hour drive. That's traffic to me. And I've never
Yeah.
been to the places that you've been to, like Bangkok or
Same perspective though.
yeah,
Exactly the same.
my youngest child is adopted and he's from the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Oh, okay.
And so I was there
Yeah.
and traffic is because there's no traffic lights. Intersections is, I mean, and it's actually a thing.
It's chaos.
If I honk my horn, I have the right of way. And so it's just constant honking. And even the nicest cars have dents on them, because
Huh.
it's like, if I'm going to get through, I'm just going to,
Well, Revan's
little,
racing, right?
yeah, I'm going to little demo derby, and I can, if I've got the edge here, I
Just
can,
nudging.
and I'm like, but you just damaged your car. But it's just it's a mindset that, well, yeah, but I needed to get there. So they just,
Yeah.
and, so until you've been in that, and I've never driven in that, I always had people that drove me because that was too intense for me. I'm not the world traveler that you are.
Trust me, I don't want to drive that either. Yeah, we are kids. Like we took him to Ixtapa in just Mexico, right? So we're going from Zihuatanejo to Ixtapa because that's where the airport is, and we have a little drive ahead of us. And there's honking going on constantly. And our kids think that everybody's angry. Like, we came to this angry place in Mexico. I was like, no, they're just communicating. Like
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
exactly.
they're just letting you know they're there. And it's like friendly honks. I was like, there's a difference. Like we should all have different like tones in our honks to let them know what our true emotion is towards them.
Yes.
Because I mean it's all beep beep, bump bump, and they're just like, I'm on your left, I'm on your right. And that's all it is communicating. They're like, oh.
Yeah,
It's like light
that's
bulb.
exactly it. It's communicating like, hey, I'm coming through, bump bump. And you're, here. I mean, if I touch my horn, there's a possibility that I'm a
There
little
might be a
upset.
fight.
Yeah. I'm like, or if I do my horn, I'm like, it's not the friendly honk. I don't do
No.
that many friendly honks
It's
here.
not. We need more friendly eyes or honks.
Yeah, we should have a friendly honk button.
Yeah, or just like an
top.
emotion that like gets out there. Like you look in your rearview mirror, it's like, hey, I'm just saying, hey, the light's green.
Yeah, yeah.
Proceed.
So you came back to Coeur d'Alene, and did you go to work right away for? Okay, so the weird thing is when I first met you with your dad, or no, I came into Coeur d'Alene Tractor and met you. I think that like form like, hey, I'm going to put a face to a name or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, man, you look familiar. Did you ever work when you came back? Like I don't know, it's not the part like the service counter.
Mhm.
That's where it hit me like a couple weeks, or I think after I talked with your dad, I'm like, that's where I think I'm in. I think because I'd bring I don't know that if you're not supposed to do this, but I have a habit of leaving my weed whacker outside all winter long. And so I always have to get it tuned up, And so I think I always just come to Coeur d'Alene Tractor because that's where I bought it. But I think that's the first time that I met you. And because your brother, John, coaches basketball. And so he knows my son and that type of thing. And I was like, does your brother work at the service? He goes, oh, it's probably my brother, Matt. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. But I'm going to have to just give a plug. Obviously, I'm not, I have no stake in the tractor to show. Give a plug to you because literally every time I go in there, people are so nice.
Thanks.
And just customer service oriented, just good folks. And so I'm like, why would I go anywhere else? Because when I go in there, it's always a positive experience. And for me, I like positive experiences. Yes. I like people to smile and people to, just be normal, and I think that's normal. But the crazy thing is it's not, it's becoming less normal.
It is. And it's funny because that's the number one thing that I want to instill in any business I'm part of, and is culture. And smiling goes a long ways for a little bit of effort. And we have some people that are great representatives in those positions that are like the first impressions. Like you come in, it's like, hey, thanks for coming in. How can I help you? Oh, parts counter's right down there. How can we help you today in the service department? And Paul, who's in there now too, what a wonderful representative of our company too. Just jolly and joke telling, just like my dad is, and like really engaging with people, and just gets the job done. But a good first impression.
Yeah, I think over the last dozen years, I've bought a couple of mowers, a couple of weed whackers, and I can honestly say I've never been in there and not had a positive experience.
That's so great to hear.
Yeah. So whoever is telling the people to do whatever they're doing a great job.
Well, I think it probably goes back to my dad, who's just a great example of a human being.
Yeah.
Right? And they want to please him. Honestly.
Yeah, it's weird, but it does start kind of at the top,
Absolutely.
These are, I think when they see your dad engaging with people and smiling and joking and just, being very personable, it's kind of like, that's the expectation. I see the expectation. This is what I want to do. And I'm so much into customer service and being treated properly. there's times when I go to a restaurant and I'll, ask to have my water refilled or whatever,
Yeah.
and I get the eye roll, and I'm like, "What? Isn't server part of your job title?" Like, I'm
You
not
would think
asking
so.
for something big. I'm just
Yeah.
asking to have
Should
my
I
water filled because
should I
I'm
do it
thirsty.
myself? Yeah, we don't want any. I mean, because I'm a very strong believer in energy, and you give off, what you get. And so many people within our organization, I feel, are very fortunate to have a lot of good people that represent our business. But we've hired well too.
Yeah, that's
And
important.
it's a big part of it. And that's to me. They always say, and I don't want this to be misconstrued either, is that they say customer's always right. Well, that's not the number one thing I focus on. What I focus on are people
Yep,
and making sure our people and our culture has a good energy to it. And that they're, of course, hard workers. And without hard work, we wouldn't have a sustainable business. But it really comes back to culture in almost every facet.
definitely.
Good products, yes. Good parts, yes. Good service, yes. But most importantly, good people are the most important factors to me in building a business that is going to be sustainable, and people are going to want to come there and have that experience that you had. Yeah, when I got back, I told my dad, I said, I don't want any necessarily handouts. I want to earn people's respect within the organization. I want to start, at the small engine shop, learn that. I wanted to go into parts and do that. I wanted to, maybe assemble tractors. Like, just put me wherever you think I could learn the most about the business from all facets of it to get everybody's perspective. Of course, you're not going to get everybody's perspective, but I wanted to get as much as I could before I get put into, of course, a management position or an ownership position, eventually too, which is it's inevitable. I know that,
Yep.
but I'm not in a hurry. I wasn't in a hurry. Unfortunately, my brother came back and he couldn't be part of the business any longer. Just he suffers from Parkinson's. And so he decided he wanted to move away from the business, and it was just a natural progression with my background in business development, marketing, and experience with people, building businesses and all that too. It just made sense for me to move into that position where he was going to be.
Cool deal.
Yeah,
And I know, your dad still comes in, like, a lot, and he
some
was
people
like
might say too much. I won't say that.
and I remember talking to him, one thing he said to me, he goes, "Well, sometimes I might go to lunch and then I might not come back." And I was like, he was almost apologizing, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, I think you might have earned that."
Yeah, more than anybody I know, he has earned that too, and his philosophy, and he smirks when he says it. He's like, "Well, I came in late, so I'm going to leave early today." I was like,
Yeah.
"And you earned that."
And the funny thing is when you're saying that, I can totally see your dad saying something like that because it'd just be like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
put a little,
And he's comfortable saying it. He
Yeah,
knows that he
yeah,
deserves it. And a lot of times I shouldn't even say that. A lot of times I don't think he even knows that he deserves it.
yeah. When I said that, it was kinda like, or I think I remember saying to your dad, which I fully believe, I don't know your dad well, but fully believe he is a pillar in our community. Just I think he's a model of what a businessman should be in the community that they live. And, I know I sound like I'm trying to be a spokesman for Cortland Tractor, but I'm just calling it like I see it from the I'm, from the outside looking in. And so I instantaneously had a huge amount of respect for your dad just because he is who he is. It's not like he's putting on an act. It's just
No, that's who he is.
that's who he
At
is.
his core. I mean, as to anybody I've ever met in my life, which is why I idolize this man, and I hate to keep being too redundant in saying that, but man, he's got this his personality for one is engaging, but his mentality of and love for the community and love for people and love to make people laugh, like everything that he embodies is somebody that is a pillar of this community. There's a reason he was, nominated for Citizen of the Year and was one of the Citizens of the Year. And because he deserves it. Like, he's the epitome. He's involved in the airport board for, decades. He's, accomplished all these things within the community, went to college here, built a business here. And everybody knows him and they know who he is because he doesn't change. That's who he is
Yeah,
at his
yeah.
core.
And it's very evident.
Yeah.
In listening to you and all of your experiences and all the I wanna you're a builder. I wanna build this. I wanna
Mhm.
grow this. I wanna make this happen. If you don't mind, what's in store for Courtland Tractor?
I don't
Because
know.
uh,
um, the most important thing too is yes, when I got back here, we had three businesses, three locations, and yes, they're Adams Tractor, Coeur d'Alene Tractor, Boundary Tractor, all named differently and operating as, sort of as a single entity, but and now we have 5 locations. So we added Lewiston and Colville in 2020 and 2022. And man, what horrible timing to do that
Yeah,
2020. The next day was like 2020, we're adding 1 store, and then the pandemic hits. We're like, I don't think we're very smart. Like, are we making another big mistake? But it's worked out. It's worked out. We have great people down there in Colville and in Lewiston too. And now we're 5 stores, 3 Adams tractors, a Cordon Lane, and a Boundary tractor. My goal is to make them more cohesive, operating, having a sort of a standard that we all abide to, a communication that we all abide to, a language we all use that's, similar. So everywhere you go, you have an Adams tractor, and maybe all of them will be named Adams tractor eventually. So people know that you're going to get the same, quality products, people, services, parts everywhere you go. And it's going to have that sort of, I don't want to be like a Starbucks or anything like that, but like, what you're going to get when you go there
yeah, yeah,
type of thing. And so brand cohesion, marketing consistency, all those things come into play as well. But ultimately, I want to focus on quality, the quality of everything that we do, everything that we embody, and even the experiences like you have, like make those better and better. Follow up with people, like quality checks and like happy checks, and like, hey, how was your experience? Like, give me some feedback. So, you know, I take any feedback that we get as a positive for us, even if it's, might be considered negative or a criticism. Like, to me, those things make us better.
yeah,
And I always send them to me. Bring it to me. What are we doing wrong? What can we get better at? The praise, yeah, and we do get a good amount of that too, just because a lot of it is my grandfather, my dad, laid this foundation, this reputation to be the business we are today, and kudos to them, and huge props to them for doing that. But we still got a lot of work to do.
yeah,
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that we're not growing too fast or too much and spreading ourselves too thin. Um, I mean, I don't want to have 50 children. I want to have maybe 3 or 5 that I can really focus on, know where they're at all times.
yeah,
But it's fun. I mean, and you got to continue to have fun. And my dad just continues to set that example. And I feel very fortunate to sit in an office next to him and watch how he engages with people, connects with people like yourself, people in the community, customers that walk in. He has no idea who they are. They have no idea who he is, but it's like he finds a connection with them. And to continue to, these are big shoes to fill. And I feel that pressure occasionally too. It's like, but I have to almost like put it aside in my brain and compartmentalize it and just go, I can never be him, because he is to me that level of a persona, that much of, like you said, a pillar in this community. But I can try as hard
yeah,
as
yeah,
hard as I can to be as good as I can and be me, and take some of the things I learned from him, which I've learned a lot, to be able to embody that and build our business in the right way. But
yeah.
it's always going to focus on quality.
Yeah, I think in all of life, it's like, okay, I'm gonna build on some solid foundations, and then maybe I'm gonna add, some things that I know or some pieces that I know, and then just, it's just a constant build, constant build.
Yeah,
And so that's super cool. You have something going on with is it Spokane was your first location, correct?
it was. Yeah,
And there's something going on with that.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
what's
absolutely.
the dates on that? And I know I talked with your dad a little bit about this, but just to get your perspective on what's going on with that.
Yeah, and I'm probably more, I guess, involved in the day-to-day operations
Right.
now.
Right.
He does a lot of his inventory, and again, he's the example that he's setting for the business. Overall, the Spokane store. We looked at that, and yes, it was 1929 when the Spokane started. A few years later, they moved to the location right now, so they've been there for decades upon
Yes.
decades. And it's 1.62 acres over on Trent Avenue, and it's very compromised as far as customers wanting to come in there. It's a bad part of town. Unfortunately, I have a feeling that eventually it'll be cleaned up, but we're probably too anxious, and it's hurting our business by being there. So we bought 9 acres up in Airway Heights, and right along Highway 2.
Boy, it's growing out there,
So
man. Holy
in all
buckets.
the evaluations we did between my dad and I and anybody else we could get with some analytical feedback, just 42,000 cars passing by that highway every day too, and traffic studies and location studies, and talking to our main OEMs, meaning original equipment manufacturers like Kubota, and anybody that wanted to have a say in that. Where should we put our dealership? And some of them had different opinions of where it should go, but we just looked at Airway Heights, and man, it just makes sense. And as you probably learned from my dad, like, it's coming full circle.
Yeah.
It's weird how it's coming
That
full
and
circle.
that's I thought that was fascinating.
Isn't that cool? Like Flint Road, like right up there, that's where the family farm was, like 80 acres on Highway 2, literally just across the street and down a block was where the family farm was.
I know,
Like
that's
in the
so
20s.
crazy.
Yeah, and it's bizarre to me how it's come full circle. My dad and I are literally standing on that property where the old family farm was. Like, wouldn't it be cool if we could build right here? It's like, yeah, but we could save like $22 a square foot just down the street. Yeah.
Being
So
that close is still pretty dang cool.
yeah, and we, Adamses can spin that store however they want to,
Yeah.
so it can make sense.
Yeah.
But it's we feel very fortunate we found this, and the Bird family, which they wanted to move that property to, and we've created a connection with them too. What wonderful people too. They were looking forward to seeing us develop something out there too, and knew our business. And it's like, oh yeah, this makes sense, and it makes sense for us. I eventually want to do some really cool stuff with the business as far as like opportunities. We have a lot of land there, so we can utilize that to put store more equipment and become exclusive dealers of plows and bigger things that are harder to store, and trailers that are harder to store there as well, that take up space. But I also want to do some really cool stuff, like create obstacle courses and places where people can come and demo machines and play around with them. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be so cool.
Yeah.
I've never had a farm or been on a farm. I live in Coeur d'Alene Place, very small
Absolutely.
section. But dude, somehow, some way, I need to be on the list for someone that can drive something.
You're on it. But I didn't realize, like, people, like, I didn't know this. And again, this is my ignorance. Like growing up, being an operator as a kid and coming back and like looking at the business from a business development standpoint, totally 180-degree difference as far as perspective. But I didn't know this. Like I started looking up like demonstrations of equipment. You can go to Vegas and you have to pay to drive this big equipment. And people, I was like, wow, maybe I was really lucky as a kid because I had all this equipment at my
you were definitely
disposal.
lucky.
Yeah, and I had friends that were like, would like nudge me like, "Hey, can we go up to tractor company and drive a tractor or an RTV?" And I was like, "You want to do that? Like, we could go play basketball or go swimming or something." He's like, "Tractor kind of sounds cool." Like, but I got to drive them all the time.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things I took for granted, I think, probably growing up just a little bit. But now I'm, from a business standpoint, I look at it as like, how cool would that be to help people get on machinery more, and they could see how great the quality is of what we're offering in comparison to something else, and drive something around an obstacle course, have fun, have a good conversation. And to me, I don't know, I kind of want to just have fun with it.
Oh, that'd be so fun. So mine and my wife's first house was over there by Prairie Falls Golf Course.
Yeah.
Now it's just fully developed. But back then it was, we were the only house on our street. Again, it was our first home, little 3-bed, 2-bath, small, everything. Well, my friend, who has a farm, he had a tractor, and he was like, "Hey, do you want me to come and fix your backyard?" Because at that point in time, it was
great.
It was nothing. Yeah, it was just nothing. And I was like, "Oh, dude, that'd be awesome." And so he brings this tractor, which I think it's a pretty big tractor. It's not like a little lawnmower. It's a pretty big tractor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you think I could try to do that? And he's like, he kind of looked at me the same way, like, "You'd want to?" Like, yeah. And so I didn't know anything about what levers did or anything like that. Dude, he just let me do it, kind of gave me the once over, and I got to try to grade it and plow it. And I don't know obviously I made an entire huge mess of my backyard because it was,
right?
Oh dude, I had a blast.
Yeah.
And then I think I created more work. I think he was coming over this is probably like a half-hour job for him. I think I turned it into like a 2-hour fix-up. But it was just like so fun.
Yeah.
That would be so cool. And I think, now as I get older, you buy something that you think that you want, and then you realize a week after you have it, like, I don't really need that. This is kind of a stupid thing that I wanted. So my wife and I loved, if we're going to spend money on something, we want to spend money on experiences. Yeah. Dude, I think it'd be totally cool to drive out to Airway Heights and pay some money and get to, work on the tractor.
I wouldn't even charge them. Like, I just want people to come and experience that.
Put me on the list.
Yeah, you're on.
Yeah, the other list that I need to be on, and I need to see the list because I need to make sure that I'm on it, is the 100th anniversary.
Oh, absolutely.
Dude, I got to be on that list.
Yeah, we were looking forward to that.
Oh, dude, that's just, what a phenomenal, cool, monumental, event that is.
Yeah, it's
and so hopefully you guys are planning just a big old party.
Yeah, they're in the works. Of course, my brain's turning in a lot of different
Yeah, well,
directions
it's
of what
like
we
with
can do, and
3 years, right?
yeah, it should be, there's some discrepancy there, whether it's 2028 or 29. So we gotta kinda look at the records and decide on that.
Okay. Well, I don't like to wait, so let's make it 28.
Yeah, I think that's what my dad said. He said 28 in your interview. I was like, "We might have a year to go on that one," but, you know, we'll celebrate the
Yeah,
whole time. But
whatever it is.
it's a big opportunity for us to really get the business out there and just be proud of our history, and, you know, coming back, that's one of the things I was like, you know, as a kid, again, didn't know the history about, like, Henry Ford and all that stuff that my dad revealed to you in that interview, but once I learned about it, I was like, "You know, we need to get that up and be proud of it."
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
it's a lineage that it's not uncommon, but, it's definitely not common.
It's not common.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not common.
yeah, so it was pretty cool because we got that, I was like, "Put it up on our website and let's expose it," and now I have my dad telling the story, and the story gets a little bit more elaborate, you know, adding different people to the
Come on.
story as we go. I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that's it's fantastic."
It's super cool. You know, this podcast idea that, I've got is I love hearing people's stories. I think that, we can learn, be inspired, we can, laugh, cry, whatever we want, but a lot of times, like, when you're telling, your story or whatever, I'm just sitting here going, "Dude, I could see a piece of me in that story." And,
Totally.
or man, there's something that, I can relate. We've been business owners here in Coeur d'Alene for 24 years. I can relate to the whole kids working in the business and all of those types of things. So it's just, thank you so much for coming on and sitting with me and sharing your
Thank you for
life with
having me.
me. Oh, dude, it's beyond my pleasure. And, I think getting things, documented or just on video or whatever. And it's like, man, you want to hear some stories about Adam's Tractor? Here you go. Check this out or whatever. So that's what I'm hoping to create for people, but probably selfishly for myself.
No, thank you
'Cause
for having me, and thank
oh,
you for
dude,
doing what you're doing too, and it's honestly just a true pleasure to get to know you and understanding where you come from, and, just being part of this community.
it's a great
It's a joy.
community. And there's so many just super cool people in the
Aren't
community.
there?
And so, like, I say, "Hey, man, you wanna come be on my podcast?" I don't really have any followers, but, you
Like,
know, maybe eventually we'll have some. People are like, "Oh, yeah, I wanna be on the podcast." They have no idea that they're actually just doing me a huge favor by letting me talk to them and hear their story,
well, you're
and,
doing us a huge favor too. I mean, it's good exposure for us, and honestly, the most important thing is just connecting
connections are
more
so bad.
people.
And the thing that I've literally said that I took from your dad, from my interview that I did with your dad, I said, "Man, do you have any advice?" And he was just like, "Man," it was kind of like connect with people, connect with
Yeah,
different businesses, connect with different people. And I was like, "Man, I mean, I know that here, but I need to just make sure that that's just a part of everything that I am and everything that I do, is because it really does. It takes a community to accomplish, whatever. If we want to keep our community great, well, guess what? It takes the community to keep it great. If we want to make sure we've got a safe, great place for our kids to grow up, it takes a community to do that. If we want to make sure that our place stays beautiful, it takes a community to do that. So
100%.
why don't we just be a community?
Let's do it.
Yeah, come on. Well,
Yeah.
gosh dang it. Thanks so much. And man, if
Thanks for having
you
me.
like this idea of just hearing people's stories, man, like this, share this, comment on it, and get it out. Follow us. All we're going to do is we're just going to basically tell stories and hear from people, hear from great people in our community, and just, you know, the more we know each other, the more we're going to create just a magical place. We don't need to create a magical place. It already is a
Let's just
magical
keep the
place.
momentum
Let's
going.
keep it going, man. So thanks so much. And we'll talk to you later. See you next week. Bye-bye.
That was awesome.
Thanks so much.
Man, it was fantastic.
Dude, yeah, I mean, here's the deal.